This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, all of you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Today topic is genetic disorders. What you see in this picture? Anyone? As of you, anyone? What you understand about genetic disorders or inheritance? It is mainly dealing with chromosomal abnormalities and genetic mutations. How influence the medical disorders? Some chronic diseases. See this picture. How many chromosomes you have? How many autosomes? Anybody is there? Rule number 30. Absent. Rule number 51.
Sir, yes sir.
Okay. వినబడుతుందమ్మా చెప్పేది?
Yes sir, వినిపిస్తుంది sir.
Okay.
22 pairs
Answer
autosomes
చేయండి.
sir, one pair of
How many chromosomes you have? How many autosomes? How many allosomes?
Sir, 22 pair of autosomes, one pair of sex chromosomes sir.
Okay, very good. See this picture. What do you find it? Depending on how many, I will classify it.
Depending on the chromosome involved, it is
Yes.
either autosomal or sex chromosomal disorder.
Okay. In this picture, you see our screen.
Yes sir, yes sir.
Yes. What is in this picture? Anyone?
With each
How to classify the chromosomes numbering? See in this picture, this is numbering given by depending on size of the chromosome. Which is the longest chromosome?
one sir, first chromosome.
Yes. Depending on size, this is a decrease order. From first chromosome is the length chromosome, and 22 is the small chromosome.
Smallest chromosome.
Okay, in autosomes. But in allosomes, sex chromosomes, Y is the small chromosome. Okay, see this. Depending on
Yes sir.
common genetic disorders affecting the chromosome, depending on chromosomes. So you can see this. First chromosome, most probably is some enzyme deficiency conditions like Gaucher's disease. Second chromosome, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Third chromosome, retinitis pigmentosa. These are most common conditions, genetic disorders. Like that, you can see all this depending on size of the chromosome. You can classify like first number 1 to second 22 and sex chromosomes. Definitions. Medical genetics, the science concerned with inheritance, diagnosis, treatment of diseases caused by single gene mutations and chromosomal abnormalities and multifactorial causes. Next, what about cytogenetics? The science of structure, the study of science of structure and function of chromosomes and their role as a unit of heredity. This is called as cytogenetics. Next, what about clinical genetics? The application of genetics to the clinical problems in individual families and patients. These are definitions. Next, what is the gene? When you call gene, A gene is a unit of DNA. It's responsible for appearance and inheritance of the character of that person, that any human being or whatever it is. It's next, genotype. The term genotype designs the genetic makeup of an organism. Genotype is a genetic makeup of organism. Phenotype is appearance, clinical appearance, physical appearance of the individual. It call it as phenotype. The genetical appearance is call it as genotype in the organism. Physical appearance call it as phenotype. Genetical appearance call it as genotype. What about homozygous? What about heterozygous? Homozygous means every organism possesses 2 genes for every character. Then you call it as homozygous. If it is single, you call it as heterozygous. If an organism, the 2 genes for a particular character are identical, it is said to be pure or homozygous. O means it's the same. These are 2 genes are very same. They represent like single character. Then you call it as homozygous. Zygote means it's a pair. Next, heterozygous. Heterozygous organisms versus consisting genes of 2 pairs. Genes of pair. It receives 2 different axes for the same character from the 2 parents. If you say hetero means it's a different. This is also pair, but they are coming from 2 individual parents. It's a different. Zygous means pair. It's a heterozygous. These are have 2 genes, but one from the mother, one from the father. Then you call it as heterozygous. Alle are allomorph. Alleles or allomorphs are a pair of genes representing the 2 alternatives of the same character located at the same loci in the homologous chromosomes. Next, dominant and recessive. Are you discussing about autosomal dominant, autosomal recessive? Yes. What is autosomal dominant? What is autosomal recessive? The genes which gains expression in the F1 hybrid as a dominant gene, while it is allele is unable to express itself in presence of dominant gene, is the recessive gene. Gene expression in the hybrid, no, it's called as even individual gene is represented the disease, can call it as dominant gene. Without unable to express the itself presence is called as recessive gene. What is karyotype? The general morphology of set of chromosome. What is a human karyotype? (22) XX is female, 22 XY is the male. This is the karyotype of human beings. Genome, the total genetic constitution of the organism, call it as genome. The total genetic constitution of the organism, you can call it as genome. You can see this. These are female or male. Female produces ovary and male produces sperms. It gives female, both are joined in the meiosis. It produces gametes. In this, female X and male have Y, XY. These are formed after meiosis. You have haplotype. Haploid means a single, called as gamete. After fertilization, it make him a diploid or zygote. This is a 2. Then it will undergoing mitosis. It forms a all structural parts of the body. This is the human life cycle in the view of chromosomes and genetic disorder. See this chromosome, basic. Chromosome is the basic unit of heredity. Chromosomes have most probably it is present in the cell, in the nuclei. In the nuclear, mainly present is the DNA. DNA have nucleotides. In these nucleotides may present in genes. This is the genetic structure of the one cell. Chromosome is the unit of basic heredity. In this chromosome have two parts. This upper part is called as P, proximal part. Second part is called as Q. In this, they have genes, are like nucleotides. This is called human male karyotype 22XY. In chromosome, there are two types: sex chromosomes and autosomes. Chromosomes may undergo various genetic disorders in the influence of deletions of chromosome, inversion of chromosome, non-distinction of chromosome, and duplication of chromosomes. These are causes for chromosomal disorders in human being. Gene mutation. What is gene mutation? Change in the sequence of DNA basis. So change in the RNA or protein. Types of gene mutations are the single nucleotide, call it as point mutation. Mutations of large segment, call it as deletion or insertion. Mutation in single nucleotide is called point mutation. One point of loci may have mutation, called as point mutation. Some large segment of gene maybe due to deletion or insertion of the new chromosome part. This is called as deletion abnormality and insertion abnormality of genetic mutations. Mutations of agents producing mutations are mainly it is radiation. As you know, radiation, especially X-ray, CT scan, and ultraviolet rays. These are radiation-induced genetic mutations. Chemical agents like nitrogen mustards and chemotherapeutic drugs. Next, viruses. Some bioviruses and some bioterrorism. They are most probably it is related to genetic mutations. So, as far as one example is rubella. Physical agents, heat and vibration also in the long-term process, the chronic conditions may produce gene mutations. Classification of genetic disorders. These are mainly three types. It is single gene disorders. It's a problem in single gene. Chromosome at the complete chromosomal disorders, maybe due to a duplication or deletion of the chromosome. Some part of deletion of chromosome. Multifactorial disorders. These are multiple risk factors. It produces in the long time. It produces some genetic abnormality. This is multiple risk factor. Here mainly classified as three types of genetic disorders. Under single gene disorders, we can discuss about autosomal dominant disorders, autosomal recessive disorders, and sex-linked dominant disorders, sex-linked recessive disorder. In chromosomal disorders, mainly it is numerical abnormalities like triple X syndrome, Klinefelter syndromes, like structural abnormalities like Down syndrome, all these conditions, Turner syndrome, all these conditions. Multifactorial disorders due to inheritance of multiple genes with multiple environmental factors. They're more fun for in case of radiation. They're more fun for some radiation abnormality in the brain. They have some disorder, genetic disorders. All these conditions. So some working coal mines, they produces some genetic disorders. Like that, there's a multiple risk factors. Chronic smoker, they have chance of genetic disorders. Like some chronic alcoholics, they have some genetic disorders. Like hepatocellular carcinoma, all these conditions. Now we discuss about single gene disorders. It's mainly autosomal dominant inheritance. They manifest when only one abnormal gene is present. The other corresponding gene are homologous. Chromosome is normal. Abnormal gene present in any one of the 22 autosomes. Only one gene may present like abnormality in the gene. It may present like some disorder Single gene is also represented some diseases. Features of autosomal dominant disorder. Disease appears in every generation of without skipping. Is the autosomal predominant features in this genetic disorder? The every generation is will affect, transmitted by the affected person to half of these children. 50% of children, if mother or father or anyone have some genetic abnormality, there every generation will be affected. In this, they have 4 children. In this, 50% of children affected in autosomal dominant conditions. Normal children affected person have normal offsprings. Sometimes normal children affected person also some normal offsprings. Males and females are equally affected. There is no gender difference. And late onset and varying symptoms. In these conditions, some any autosomal disorders have all lethal conditions? No. It's a variable representation. Say sometimes male present male clinical abnormalities, some may severe lethal complications also. And even in genetic disorders, normally we thought of say genetic disorders present like early, some newborn or early childhood, but autosomal dominant condition may present like even old also, like conditions like Huntington disease, Parkinson conditions like most probably it is childhood, it may present even late onset also. So this is variable presentation, some mild to severe, and even broad spectrum of age presentation also, some newborn to even old. Autism dominant inheritance, as for examples are acute intermittent porphyrias, Huntington diseases, their late onset presentation, Marfan syndrome, familial hypercholesterolemia, neurofibromatosis, adult polycystic kidney, ADPKD, call it as adult polycystic kidney ADPKD. If it is ARPKD, it is autosomal recessive condition. These are some examples autosomal dominant inheritance. See in this family affected only father. They have carried genotype is DD. Okay, in this D is normal, D is only affected gene in this. So they present like, see this DD, even where is its capital D? It's a son and one girl. Even they have 4 children. In this 50%, one son and one daughter are equally affected. 50% affected equally, or male or female, both are affected. So 50% affected and both genders are also affected. This is called as autosomal dominant condition. If it is one parent affected, they have each and every generation will be affect the 50% of children. This is normal. Small dd sir, it's a normal. It's normal son or normal daughter. Only it's affected here. Only father in this is one gene only. This is capital D. If it is both mother and father are affected, how is the presentation of autosomal dominant condition? If it is both parents affected, see this father have affected capital D, mother also affected capital D. So if it see this severe affected and lethal, this is lost that child. This is a 25% of conditions. Moderate symptoms, both daughters both are affected, and only escape from the disease is only one or 25% only. If it is both parents affected in the autism conditions, 70% children are affected, only 20% children are 20% children only escape from the disease. This is the, if it is both parents are affected. If it is one single parent is affected, only 50% children only affected. 50% are escape from the disease. If it is both parents are affected, 75% children are affected, only 25% children is escape from the disease. Now discussing about autosomal recessive inheritance. The manifestation only in the homozygous state. Abnormal gene located in any one of the 22 autosomes. What are the features of autosomal recessive inheritance? Parents of affected offsprings are clinically free. Only siblings are affected. Both even parents are affected, but there is no symptoms, no clinical features, but their siblings is affected. Parents of affected child may be consanguineous. Most probably autosomal recessive conditions may present is consanguineous marriages. Is a third degree or second degree. Increase the degree of consanguinity, they are more affected by autosomal recessive conditions, inheritance conditions. In this also, both sexes are equally affected. The manifestations of symptoms and clinical features are early onset and uniform symptoms, not like autosomal dominant. Autosomal dominants may be early children, maybe older adults also may be affected. But in this autosomal recessive conditions, only early children in the early age of the human beings are affected. But both uniform symptoms, all are common symptoms, like if it is severe, all children are severe symptoms. If it is mild clinical features, it all are mild clinical features, like dependent conditions. These are equally affected gender and early onset of appearance of disease, and uniform symptoms may be seen in autosomal recessive conditions. What are the examples of autosomal recessive conditions? As you know, all enzyme deficiencies, all are read about in biochemistry conditions, protein disorders, protein deficient disorders, and by amino acid disorders, all enzyme deficiency conditions under in the autosomal recessive conditions only, like albinism, phenylketonuria, tyrosinemia, beta thalassemia, cystic fibrosis, and sickle cell anemia, Wilson's disease. All these conditions under autosomal recessive inheritance. You can see this. Here, small r, both parents are carer. You can see I discuss here. Both parents are affected, but these are clinically asymptomatic. But in this, only 25% of children only affected for the disease. If it is both parents are affected, carriers, my children are only 20% only affected. In this, 50% of children may be carrier from the next generation. Only 20% of children only there is no carriers not affected. Escape from the any disorder, genetic inheritance. You can see the autosomal recessive. If it is both, if parents are carriers, in this condition you can see discuss about mainly consanguineous. Depending on consanguineous conditions, autosomal recessive disorders are very mostly affected. These are both parents are carrier, but only 20% of children are affected. 50% of children are carriers, and only escape from this diseases only 20% of children. In this, if it is carrier father, mother is there is completely abnormal. In this, you can see this, there is no effect. If it is only, you can see the autosomal recessive conditions. If both parents are carriers, then only manifest the diseases is a 20% in their children. If it is one parent is carrier, another parent is no carrier, no disease, in that conditions. That what? So what meaning that there is no consanguineous marriage. So there's are, if it is one parents also carrier, their children's only carrier only, 50% of children are carrier only. No children will be affected in this single parent autosomal recessive conditions. Conclusion: knowledge of inheritance pattern is important in genetic counseling to give the risk of recurrence. In case of autosomal dominant condition, 50% of chance of inheritance. In case of autosomal recessive conditions, 25% chances of affected children, 50% of chance of carrier children. This is the main difference from the autosomal dominant and autosomal recessive. Autosomal dominant is 50% of children are affected completely. There is no carrier. In this autosomal recessive, only 20% children are affected, and 50% of children are carrier for next generation. the comparison between autosomal recessive and autosomal dominant condition. Stable is autosomal. Males or females are both equally affected. In this also, both autosomal recessive condition also both equally affected. Successive generations affected until no one inherits the mutation. In case of autosomal dominant, each and every generation will be affected. In autosomal recessive conditions, both parents are carriers, then only children are affected. If it is one parent is carrier, then there is no children are affected. If it is carried from next generation, this is condition mainly if both parents are carriers, then only have the affected children. Affected individual in autosomal dominant condition has been affected parent unless he or she has de novo mutation. Sometimes maybe de novo mutation, they even there is no affected children, affected parents maybe have affected children due to de novo mutation. In case of autosomal recessive, if both parents are carriers, then only have affected children. Next, sex-linked inheritance. In sex-linked inheritance, we can discuss about X chromosome abnormalities and Y chromosome abnormalities. X-linked abnormalities is in this X-linked recessive conditions is most common X-linked genetic disorders, X-linked disorder, and X-linked dominant conditions. Y chromosome abnormalities, Y-linked or polyandric genetic disorders. We can discuss next slides. X-linked recessive inheritance. Abnormal gene presentation, X chromosome. Features are male offsprings of female carriers of 50% chance of being affected. All female offsprings of affected males are carriers since father contributes his X chromosome to all his daughters. What do you mean that X-linked means? This X chromosome seen in 2 X chromosomes in the female, 1 X chromosome in the male. So even have 2 chromosomes of female, if we without contribution of X chromosome from the male, their children are not affected. No fathers to son transmission. Why only single X chromosome present in the father. Unaffected males do not transmit unless marry the carrier females. This is most important. Can see this? Father have affected father. See this? R is the affected gene. XY is the father. XX is the mother. See this. R is transmitted to the daughter. So daughter is carrier only. Son only one X chromosome is present. So it will be escape from the disease. Next, if your daughter carrier is only father is affected and one daughter also carrier. Son is also escape from the disease. Why is the father have single X chromosome? In this, father, mother both are affected. In this condition, 25% or one son is affected from the X-linked recessive gene. If only single father is affected, there are 2 daughters are carriers only, 2 sons are escaped from the disease. The example is color blindness. Mutated genes are located in the X chromosome. They have red-green color blindness. Both X and Y chromosomes may be total color blindness. Now, X-linked dominant inheritance. X-linked dominant inheritance manifests in heterozygous females and also in males with mutant gene is single X chromosome. Even single X chromosome present may present with diseases. Affected male transmit to all his daughters, not to his sons. Why? Males have single X chromosome. That's why only males are transmitted to the daughters only. Affected female transmit to the half of the sons and half of the daughters. If it is affected female, they have two X chromosomes. So one in case of daughters have two X chromosomes, they have half of the daughters are affected, half of the sons are affected. Signs and symptoms are more severely affected in the males. In case of X-linked dominant inheritance, examples are vitamin D resistant rickets, X-linked dominant conditions. Example is vitamin D resistant rickets. Another example is XG blood group. These are X-linked dominant inheritance. Some conditions like Rett syndrome, Bloom syndrome, Dahl lessons may be example for X-linked dominant inheritance. See this X-linked dominant vitamin D resistant rickets, short stature with postnatal enlargement of joints and delayed eruption of teeth, bowed legs, diffuse osteoporosis. These are X-linked dominant vitamin D resistant rickets features. Next, Y-linked halondric inheritance. So the difference of X-linked ratio and X-linked dominant conditions affects the males are almost exclusively X-linked recessive conditions. In case of X-linked dominant condition, males and females are affected, but affected females are more frequent. In this X-linked recessive, both are only males are affected in X-linked recessive conditions. X-linked recessive condition transmitted through unaffected carrier females to their sons. X-linked dominant conditions, females are usually less severely affected than males. Affected males cannot transmit the disorders to their sons. In case of X-linked dominant condition, affected females can transmit the disorders male and female children equally distribution. Affected males have affected grandsons through obligate carrier daughters. In case of X-linked recessive conditions, affected males, if it is affected males, they have their daughters are only carriers. In this X-linked dominant condition, affected males only transmit the disorder to their daughters only. Now discuss about mitochondrial design DNA disorders. Here DNA is outside the nucleus. Normally you can see the DNA is inside the nucleus, but some conditions have mitochondria have also DNA, partial DNA. So in this mitochondrial DNA, if it is affected or if it is mutation they occur, they have how it presents in the disorders. In this DNA outside the nucleus, circular rather than the linear. Normally is circular DNA in the seen in the mitochondrial DNA. Linear is seen in the nucleus DNA. Next, 2 to 10 copies of double stranded DNA in the mitochondrial DNA. This is transmitted by the mother only. Mitochondrial DNA, it's transmitted by mothers only. The code for 13 proteins. Mitochondrial DNA is coding for 13 proteins. Mitochondrial DNA mutations mainly it is examples are Leber's optic atrophy, mitochondrial myopathies. You can see the examples. These are another example is Keynes-Sayre syndrome for mitochondrial inheritance. Mitochondrial DNA contains DNA cellular metabolism, the oxidative enzymes, exclusively maternal origin, is a negligible contribution from the sperm. So, next, mitochondrial inheritance. This is spontaneous mutations are more common in the mitochondrial DNA. These are mainly spontaneous mutations. Mitochondrial mutations is the most probabilities affected in the nervous system and skeletal muscular system. The proportion of mitochondria with mutations and mutational heterogeneity is the range of phenotypic severity. Both males and females are affected in the mitochondrial DNA disorders. They are transmitted only through females, maternal origin only. All daughters of an affected or carrier females are risk factor for the transmitting the condition. This due to mitochondrial origin of maternal origin of mitochondrial DNA. See this, father and mother. Mother is affected. This is mitochondrial DNA most probably coming from the mother only, maternal origin. So you can see this most probably next generations XX or maternal female is affected. Next another And the generations, they come origin from the all metal origin, so they have all children equally affected. Inheritance only through maternal illness. Affected males do not pass in the genes. See this in this maternal mitochondrial DNA disorder. If it is affected in the male but did not pass to the next generation, why? It's a maternal mitochondrial DNA origin. So only affected the, if it is affected female, they affected all next generations. If it affected male but did not pass the disease in next generations, this is the main difference between mitochondrial DNA inheritance. These are examples: the age of onset and mutation occur in the mitochondrial DNA. This is the character features of the mitochondrial DNA disorders. So you can see this males. They have most probably affected at the age of less than 20 years, most probably due to mitochondrial DNA. Clinical features are stroke-like episodes, diabetes mellitus, cardiomyopathies. Merck is a childhood to mid-adulthood due to mutation of mitochondrial DNA. These are clinical features are progressive myoclonic epilepsy, cerebellar ataxia, progressive muscle weakness. This male. Next, LON and NARP and KSS, Care syndrome. MARP is childhood, quiescent stage, and adult is this is expressed, but these are most probably sensory motor neuropathy. Also associated with ataxia, pigmentary retinopathy, retinitis pigmentosa. These are the components of the NARP mitochondrial DNA disorders. Next, discuss about multiple genetic disorders. What are the multiple genetic disorders? This is a polygenetic inheritance. They have two or more genes. It will be affected by the influence of environmental risk factors. These are mainly congenital heart diseases, coronary heart disease, essential primary hypertension, type 2 diabetes mellitus, cleft lip and cleft palate, and congenital pyloric stenosis. See this genetic abnormality is there. This is also influenced by environmental risk factors like chronic alcoholic, chronic smoker, or due to some chronic occupational exposure conditions, asbestosis, or like cystic fibrosis conditions, or like conditions like that. And these are both polygenic means one or more genes that are affected, also associated with influence of environmental risk factor. Examples mainly the cleft lip, cleft palate, hypertension, diabetes, type 2 diabetes mellitus, and coronary MI, coronary heart disease, and congenital heart disease, and congenital in children, congenital pyloric stenosis. These are the multiple genetic disorders. Mainly genetic disorders under classified means single gene disorders, chromosomal disorders, and multiple genetic disorders. Thank you. See this picture. What is this picture? Anyone? Any abnormality seen in this picture?
Wide intercanthal distance, sir.
Okay. Inka?
Eyeball. Open mouth and the nose was
Open mouth, protruded tongue,
hitched nose.
depressed nasal bridge. Next, see this low set ears, anti-mongoloid slant. Mongoloid slant means
Lateral margin was
outer
little
elliptical
higher
police.
than the medial border of the eye, sir.
Yes. What are all these conditions? This picture is
Congenital hypothyroidism.
Down syndrome.
yes. Down syndrome. Most common genetic disorders in especially pediatric. When you discuss pediatrics, you must know Down syndrome. What are the features of Down syndrome? Protrude tongue, depressed nasal bridge,
Depressed nose, wide intercanthal distance, low set ears.
low set ears,
Anti-mongoloid.
Mongoloid slant, sparse hair, low neck, all these features. And system wise, CBS most probably is AB canal defects, VSD, next GAT, most probably is polycystic kidney, and duodenal atresia abnormalities. What are the skeletal abnormalities? You can see in toes, sandal gap, in palms, single palmar crease, all these conditions, most probability is Down syndrome. Down syndrome associated with most probability is hypothyroidism also, congenital hypothyroidism. The component of Down syndrome. Any mental abnormality in the Down syndrome? There are no intelligence abnormality in Down syndrome. Generally, lifespan of the Down syndrome maybe 25 to 35 years. Most common cause of death is due to respiratory abnormalities. Okay, Down syndrome is most important. Next is Turner syndrome. These are under chromosomal abnormalities. Down syndrome karyotype is anyone. Down syndrome karyotype.
Trisomy 21, sir.
Trisomy 21. Triple X.
Yes, sir.
What is Turner syndrome genotype? Karyotype
45XO, sir.
XO. It's a Turner syndrome. What are the components of Turner syndrome? As of Turner syndrome is mostly affected is females. They have bare chest, gonadal abnormalities, streak gonads, looking like phenotype is female. Phenotype is looking like male, but they streak gonads, webbed neck, all these conditions. So see cardiac abnormalities, white test of aorta, HOSM, all these conditions. Okay, thank you.